Welcome to the latest 2's review here at Soccer Down Here. My name's Jason Longshore, looking back at Atlanta United 2's 2-0 loss to St. Louis FC from the weekend. Also looking ahead to Atlanta United 2's match tonight with Memphis 901 FC. You can watch that on ESPN News. The stats looked like a really strong performance from Atlanta United 2 on the weekend. The result, not so much. 2 goals early for St. Louis FC, one on a controversial penalty, in my opinion anyway, converted by Sam Fink in the 9th minute, and a goal from Russell Cicerone assisted by Lewis Hilton in the 20th minute, gave St. Louis the opportunity to sit back, defend, not really commit numbers forward, not really seek out much of the ball. Possession numbers dominated by Atlanta, shot numbers dominated by Atlanta, scoreboard dominated by St. Louis FC. They are the top team in the Eastern Conference for a reason. They showed that quality at Fifth Third Bank Stadium on Saturday night. Let's hear the highlights from the match called by myself and John Nelson on ESPN+.
Let us know what you think and what you see. And we are underway from Fifth Third Bank Stadium. St. Louis with it in the center of the area. And with the left, Can punches it clear. Hilton there, though. He'll wind up off the crossbar.
Can with the save.
Can't control it. St. Louis FC with possession. Carleton coming in from behind nicely there. Metcalf can't control. Calls in a penalty.
It's a loose touch from the captain, Metcalf. Touched away from him and looking for the contact.
And does it pose a problem here late in minute number 9? Nope. No problem. St. Louis FC on the board.
Fink. No problem there into the side netting. Alec Can with no chance, even if he had guessed correctly.
And back comes St. Louis.
Excellent work by Fink to jump in the passing lane and keep it off of Carleton.
Dinkwa knew he couldn't touch it, but opportunity is there for St. Louis if they can get it. Left foot and in. Cicerone. Since Dinkwa couldn't touch it, Cicerone took it, ends up with goal number 2 in minute number 20. 2-0 for the conference leader.
The near side. The cutback here to create the space. Campbell still trying to balance. He stays with it pretty well. Anthony Pillis preparing a substitution for St. Louis.
Greg is there. Dacus and chipped and missed. Wild opportunity there for St. Louis. Drives on Hilton. He's there. Can he chip it back? Saying that it went over the inline St. Louis. Still going to go after Carleton. Deflected. They'll launch it again. Just miss over the bar. 2 chances for the Stripes there.
The half volley does not miss the far upper 90 by much. It's a goal if defending from Hilton on Lagos Kunga.
Dacus had it, lost it. Martz is there, so is Dinkwa on Can, and it is saved. Combination of Campbell and Can. Carleton looking to cut back on the right, sends it top of the box. Pereira turns, blocked. Wyke from 30, right on. And that'll do it.
Well, that was disappointing. Not ideal, guys, as Atlanta United 2 drops 2-0. They really suffered a tough game there against St. Louis, and St. Louis started on the front foot, and that kind of dictated everything. The elephant in the room is still the foul call, and props after the game to Jack Metcalf and head coach Stephen Glass for keeping their language to a PG level, because, when we saw the replay, I can understand why they didn't want to. I think it angered them a lot. And then the flow of the game just kind of got a little stagnant. I think Atlanta United 2 struggled to get their feet under them. Had some questionable performances earlier, I think. You look at Anderson Asiedu, thought he struggled early in the game, but what I saw out of them all was they came out after halftime, even before halftime. Atlanta United 2 looked solid. They started getting the fight to a St. Louis team that was hitting hard. I memean, it was playoff hockey kind of hitting at some points. I kept waiting, for George Campbell to put somebody in the board behind the goal. They'd be running down to the ball to the end line. I just kept waiting for him to truck somebody into the board. Didn't happen, but I couldn't have blamed him if it had happened, just because of the way the game was being played the other night. Andrew Carleton, really good performance, I thought. It took him a little bit of time to get into the flow of the game. He mentioned as much after the game, but thought he did a good job of finding himself in the game and gave a really good performance as time went on. I think he set the record for shots in a game for Atlanta United 2. He did everything but score, so solid from him. Romario Williams is going to wish he had done more in the game with the opportunity. Brandon Vasquez was not in the 18 a week after, what can we call it other than just a really rough showing over in North Carolina? But other than that, really impressed with a three-man back line that they shifted to late in the game, where it's Decas, it's Vint, it's Campbell on the back line. All of those guys are very young, and especially Wesley Decas getting thrown into that game, knowing that, hey, we're going to go to a three-man back line because we're going to press. You might have some situations where you're going to be under duress. You're going to have to get things right. I thought for the most part he did. I think he had one error I can think of off the top of my head, but no blood didn't hurt when he had his mistake. Otherwise, I thought he was fantastic. I'm sorry, not Will Vent. It was Lawrence Wyke on the back line, not Will Vent, but Wyke as well. Still really young, played really well in that performance, and really impressed with these young guys. And Stephen Glass just raved about Campbell, but Campbell, I believe, has played every minute this season for this team. And there's a reason. It's because he is just going out and playing out of his mind every chance he gets. And it's hard to take him off the field right now. You look at the performances he's putting together, he's going to be making a name for himself at a higher level sooner rather than later. And you don't want to get, too far ahead of yourself. You don't want to, get too much air in the head, but it's really impressive seeing what we've seen from him. Good to see Lagos Kunga get a bit of a run out, even if it was late in the game. I thought we saw a good aggressiveness from him. There's a little bit of rust still on the moves. You can see him still being aggressive going after guys, but play the ball out, be on the end line a little bit when he went 1v1. I like that he still has that same mindset he ended last season with. I think once he gets his rhythm going, he'll be a guy who you can bring in that situation, who can be an impact player late or start him and, ask him to dribble at guys and start creating pressure situations. But overall, not a bad performance. Patrick Okonkwo out injured. Tyler Ruthven also out injured, which might be for the best because Ruthven might have been. We joked during the game, this game's not going to end 11-on-11. Ruthven out there, it might not have ended 11-on-11. He is that physical leader out there who can bring the game to a halt, and he can get underneath people's skin and get them inside of boards if he has to. He might have been that guy to pick up that card or push it over the edge, especially early in that game. But he's also that guy at the same time who can whip the young guys into line very aggressively and does a really good job of it. We saw it in the first game of the season where he would literally put his foot on the ball to bring it to a stop. He's talked before about these young players. A lot of times they want to speed up when they get nervous and anxious. So it'll be nice to see him back in when he's there. I thought Jet Metcalf still, though, a good captain, good performance. And again, Metcalf gets dinged for a penalty because the striker hit Metcalf's leg. And then Metcalf got called for the penalty after the striker took two more steps and fell down. But it happens. A very questionable night of officiating, but you still, that didn't cost you the game if you're Atlanta United too. I think you can be happy with the second half performances. Anderson Asiedu really stepping up in the second half, especially for my eyes. There's a lot of good to take away from that. It's not ideal. You want the 3 points. You want at least a point. So you've had 3 performances now that in a row that you kind of are snapping your fingers in frustration. You have the 1-0 loss to Louisville where you looked good and you didn't get the 3 points. You have to you have to fight back in Carolina where you leave a bunch of chances on the table, even though Romario's heroics gives you the hat trick to get you the draw on the road. And you feel good about that, but that's a game you needed to win. That's a game that I think later on this season you win. And you're disappointed you didn't get a win there. And then you're disappointed in the game against St. Louis. But you still have to put it behind you, talk to the players afterward. And it's a good thing here you put it all behind you, get ready, because you got to go on the road in the middle of the week. So that is out of your head now. You got to be thinking ahead, because if you're not thinking about this game Wednesday night, bad things are going to happen to you over 90 minutes. Gentlemen, I leave it to you.
Thanks, Jarrett. Let's hear first from the interview that Jarrett referenced from the captain, Jack Metcalf, after the match.
What did you think of the penalty?
It's not a penalty. Simple as. I mean, I think even their team was surprised that it was given. But look, it's one of those things, that's out of our control, but 100% it's not a penalty.
What was the referee saying? The arguments?
Couldn't tell you, honestly. We've obviously asked him, what's the reason for the penalty? And he honestly couldn't really give us one. He just said the linesman has called it as a penalty as well, which I'm not sure how he could see it from there, but I've literally played the ball, striker's come and kicked my leg, so if anything it should be a free kick the other way. But that's not a good call.
You had a quick turnaround match on Wednesday against Memphis. How do you prepare such a short time?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll get some recovery in. We've obviously had a weekend off, so we have another game, so I think it's important for everyone to get that recovery in and get straight back to work on Monday. I think that second half was very positive for us, and you could feel the crowd riding off the energy and the chances that we were creating. And we just got to be a little bit more clinical in the final third, and have a little bit more quality in those areas, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, you looked more confident coming out after halftime. What was said at halftime? Just because it seemed like you came out with a bit of spark.
I mean, we just said, look, there's nothing we can do about the PK call. The second goal is just, we just misjudged it. They're on a breakaway and they punished us for that. And we just said, look, we're right in the game. We felt like we had the quality to go out and score, 3-4 goals easily in the second half. And I think our chances proved that. We just got to take those and we'll be in good shape.
You can hear the frustration in Jack Metcalf's voice there. Atlanta United 2 played very well in this one. You have a decision go against you, and every time I've looked at it on replay, I get more upset about the call that was made. I think if there is a video assistant referee in the situation, that does not stay as a penalty. Very difficult to have that go against you so early in the match. Then you get caught again a few minutes later, and you're fighting uphill. This is an ongoing conversation we've had about Atlanta United this season. Atlanta United 2 falls into it. Quality of the match after that, very good. Did not convert on the chances created. A lot of shots, no goals to show for it. More shots in the match, more shots on target than St. Louis has conceded all season long, but nothing on the scoreboard. Let's hear from the manager of Atlanta United 2, Stephen Glass.
All right, questions for Coach?
You guys folded me high 2-0 in the first half, but second half, really a different match. What was your message to the team in the locker room?
I think in the first half we didn't show a lot of our qualities. I think we got caught up in poor refereeing decisions, things going against us like that, and we didn't get our foot on the ball, we didn't pass it, we didn't move the other team. I think in the second half you saw a number of top individual performances, and I think if that was there in the first half, perhaps even with the refereeing as it was, I think perhaps we still come out on top.
Jack kind of touched on it, but how does the team kind of build on that second half performance, especially with the quick turnaround Wednesday?
Yeah, it's we obviously don't know what the group's going to look like on Wednesday night, but the individual performances, they will individually be looking to build on that, I think, more than the team. I think the team's always going to go there, try to win, try to be positive. Regardless, we're going to Memphis, it'll be probably tough. There'll be a big crowd, home crowd. I know they're advertising it already, but we've seen the energy that a crowd can give a team tonight, and it was magnificent how the fans were. They really drove the team on, and I think we responded well to it, and I think we gave the fans what they wanted, and other than a couple of goals maybe. But in terms of the effort, work rate, quality on the ball, up till sticking in net, that was very, very good.
What did you think of the 2's performance tonight?
I think second half he was unbelievably good. I think he would expect more of himself in the first half. but it's a learning curve for him. I talked about him on, I think it was Thursday, Friday, whenever the press day was. And I think he knows himself he can do better first half, but you saw his reaction in the second half, and that's what good players do. They're going to take any adversity and any negatives and turn them into real positives and try to become a top player. I think he's on the right path.
Any adjustments that y'all made up front in the second half, or was it more than playing back, or a combination of both?
No, I think we definitely forced the issue second half. We changed the shape slightly, but I wouldn't get too hung up on what the shape was, because we ended up with 3 at the back, but the first half we did the same, with Anderson dropping in between the 2 centre backs anyway. So I think in terms of what was different, we kept the ball better. We made them chase it. We had a pride in keeping it, not giving it away. Try to threaten them, make them defend. I think all the things you saw in the second half that somewhat missing in the first half were real intensity and desire probably to go and score some goals.
Did you get an explanation on that penalty that was called on Metcalf? What did you see out there?
Did I get an explanation, or
did you get an explanation, or what also what your perspective on that call called on?
My perspective is the same as anyone in the stadium except the referee. I think there's no danger it's a penalty kick. Jack Metcalf slides in. It's dangerous if you don't get the ball to slide in like that. It's dangerous. You give a referee an opportunity to give it, but a referee that is seeing things correctly doesn't give that penalty kick. It's not something that you can legislate for. I can't tell Jack not to tackle there when he gets the ball cleanly. He's done right. He tackled the ball well. He did it clean. If he kicks the guy, I can tell him, Jack, you shouldn't be tackling there. But he wins the ball. The lad kicks his leg as he tries to score a goal, and Jack gets punished for it. We can't control that. What we can control is what we did second half about it.
Pogba also got some time in. I know he's working his way back from injury, and he played first half. What did you see from him? Is he working his way back into the fitness?
Yes, that's why he played tonight. Get 45 minutes under his belt, try and push towards the first team. Any time any of the first team lads come down, that's the aim. So the ones that played 90 are better for it. Romario played, I think, 75. He's better for it. And Big Pogba will be... Now Frank's got a decision whether he's involved with the group or not based on what he's seen tonight, how he feels. There's a few different things go into the melting pot, if you like.
And then Lagos came in toward the tail end. Was that always the plan, just to give him a quick run out, stretch his legs?
No, because there was 2 or 3 others on the bench that could have affected the game too. We just felt that the way the game was going, there was Kevin himself and Laurent, I think, that was still left, and I just felt that Lagos, based on what we've seen in training, was going to affect the game more than any of the others. But they all come into contention now for Wednesday night, and I'm sure we'll have a good group Wednesday night, and we'll go try win another game.
Use a lot of young guys on that back line, especially when you pull Pogba at halftime. What was your thought on the performance of just a group of 3 really young players having to kind of command a back line?
I thought they were excellent. Yeah, second half they didn't look under, I won't say under no trouble, but any danger at any time was like a long ball forward, but they dealt with it well. They played late on, they were under a wee bit of pressure, but that was 90 minutes in when we've been dominating the ball for certainly the last 45. So great performance. Big George building on it, Lawrence Wyke building on his performances, Wesley coming in for his first game. Really good positive performance from the whole group. The young guys, the first team lads that are down to help us, to help them. So overall, I think I'm not happy that we got beat, but a very, very positive performance, especially second half. The desire and the endeavour was fantastic from the group.
We'll take one more.
Reading before the match, going back to George, I think it was he, Anderson, and Jack, I believe, only players that have played every minute this season. How has a player like George really built your trust throughout this season?
Has he, or how has he?
How has he built your trust throughout this season?
With his performances, he's been unbelievable from the first minute he played right through till the last minute here tonight. George Campbell's going to be a top player, and it's our job to protect him, our job to teach him, our job to nurse him along as is right, and make him the player that he's going to be. We've got a big responsibility when we find a player like that.
Love to see the development out of a player like George Campbell, still an Atlanta United Academy player who has played a lot of minutes in the USL Championship this year. a player who's still honestly learning how to become a center back. You know, he hasn't grown up as a center back. He was a midfielder who was converted to center back by Tony Annan of Atlanta United's academy, and the quality is showing. I think he's honestly still growing into his body. He has grown a lot since I first saw him in the Generation Adidas Cup a couple of years ago with Atlanta United. Such a strong player, such a mature player for his age, but he's still learning. As you saw the 1v1 with Russell Cicerone, I thought Campbell actually handled it pretty well. Cicerone, though, his experience, he's able to get that little sliver of space that beats Alec can and gets the second goal that completely changes this match. Another player who we've watched develop in the USL Championship with Atlanta United 2 is Andrew Carleton. Let's hear from him after the St. Louis match.
Where you were having, it seemed like a lot of opportunities and just couldn't find a net.
Yeah, I mean, I was happy with how I was doing. I just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And, you know, you have those nights every now and then. You know, I thought as a team we played well. I thought individually I played well. But at the end of the day, we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net.
It seemed like early in the game you were having trouble getting on the ball. Had just a few touches early, and as the game went on, you really grew into it confidence-wise. Was there anything changed or any aggressiveness, or just ball falling to you?
I think, you know, in the first few minutes of the game, like, you're always trying to feel out the opponent and kind of feel where the spaces are and this and that. And I think, you know, it took me 10 and 15, 20 minutes to find the spaces, but I thought, you know, as the game went on, I started to find myself in some pretty good pockets and be able to get on the ball. So, I mean, I think that's what you're talking about right there.
Is it difficult to come back into the 2's when you've been training with the first team? Like, how do you slot in and, like, connect with players in a game like this?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just soccer. You just go down playing soccer. I mean, there's little things that, you know, happen, but it's all about, like, you know, communication and talking with each other. I mean, you know, even if you're not playing with somebody, as long as they're talking with you, communicating where they want you to be, it doesn't take that long to build a little bit of chemistry. You know, this is my first game here this year, so play with a few of the guys last year as well. So, you know, I was happy to be back and to be playing in the game.
What do you think of Guillermo and Luis, how they really made their mark on the match tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I love playing with Luis. You know, he's a really good player. You know, I think he's brought, you know, a spark to our team this year. And he's fun to play with and combine, you know, me, him, and Dion kind of in the midfield or in the attacking midfield. This year, you know, it's been fun to be able to play with those guys.
I was going to mention Dion as well. Looks like he has some chances as well, really good.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, like, I enjoy playing with those guys. You know, we're all pretty similar players. You know, we're all crafty and, you know, like to combine and stuff like that. So, you know, I think us three make a pretty decent pairing. And, you know, I think both of them play well tonight. And, you know, it's fun to be out there with them.
Does it help having a game Wednesday night where you can kind of put this in the back of your mind, put it out of mind, and go ahead and get ready for Wednesday so you don't dwell on the frustration like this?
Yeah, I mean, anytime after a loss, you want to get the next game in as soon as possible. You know, I think we'll be ready for Wednesday, hopefully come out and be able to get a win.
And you hear it from Andrew Carleton. That's the mindset tonight as Atlanta United 2 heads to Memphis to face Memphis 901 FC. 901 FC, they're in 11th place in the USL Championship Eastern Conference, one spot ahead of Atlanta United 2 right now. They've played one more match than Atlanta United 2 as well. They're on 5 points, 1-2-2 in their inaugural season. They picked up their first win a couple of weeks ago against Bethlehem Steel. They lost 3-2 to the New York Red Bulls 2, and over the weekend, a big point they drew with North Carolina FC, who hasn't lost this season as of yet, 1-1 with North Carolina FC. It's a pretty veteran-laden team when you look at the roster for Memphis 901 FC. Mark Birch, longtime MLS veteran, leads the way in terms of experience for Tim Mulqueen's side. He has 2 goals on the season, 2 of the 5 that Memphis has scored. Elliot Collier, very good 1v1 player, former New Zealand futsal national team player, played last season with the Chicago Fire. Adam Najim, who came up in the Red Bulls Academy and just never was able to quite break through there. He also has a goal this season. Look, this is the difference between the 2 teams, the MLS affiliate teams, and the independent teams. You're going to see a difference in the way they approach building a roster. You have a lot of veterans with Memphis. You have a team that's expected to be a competitor, week in and week out. With Atlanta, you heard it from Stephen Glass. You hear it from Andrew Carleton. It is about development. It is about the bigger picture. You want those strong performances. You want the results along the way because that helps feed the strong performances. But it is about the performance. It's going to be a fun one tonight. Mike Watts will be on the call with you guys on ESPN News. If you don't have ESPN Plus, first off, you're missing out. Second, you will have a chance to watch this match. If you have ESPN News on your cable, you can also watch on Watch ESPN as well. Another local tie in this one, a player that I know very well, Junior Sandoval. He's played 50 minutes for Memphis 901. Started with the Alianza Soccer Club here in the Atlanta area. Played professionally with the Atlanta Silverbacks. Played with the Puerto Rico Islanders. Also played professionally with Marathon in Honduras. He is part of the squad, another veteran at this level. He's part of the squad for Memphis 901. Would love to see Sandoval get on the field a little bit tonight for Memphis. Check out the match tonight on ESPN News. We'll have a 2's review afterwards, getting you ready for this weekend. Atlanta United 2 hosting North Carolina FC at Fifth Third Bank Stadium at the Proving Ground on Saturday night. If you're not making the trip, and there's probably not a lot of you making the trip up to Gillette Stadium in New England to watch Atlanta United, get out and support the 2's this weekend. We'll be back with another 2's review later this week. Thanks for listening. Adios.